Hello everyone and welcome to COM 350. I apologize for the delay in getting this video out to you. As some of you know, I've told you already, I really did think this course was in the classroom because I'm teaching my first course in the classroom since 2020. And for some reason, I assumed it was 350 and it turns out that it's a different one of my classes. Anyway, we are all on schedule, ready to go. The information that you need right now for this course is available to you. I've put up the syllabus for you, and I just wanted to explain a few of the things that I do that may be a little different from other courses that you've taken, be they in the classroom or online. So let's start first with the exams. The exams for me are only a way for me to know that you know where to look to find the answers, okay? So what I do is I usually put those up and I give you a full week to do it whenever you want. You can use your book, obviously, notes, lectures, etc. There is no limit to what you're able to reference if you so choose to do so. And that's fine. My goal here is not to trick you or trip you up or even to get you to memorize dates or something silly like that, but instead to recognize the larger trends of what happens to rhetoric and in rhetoric as we study it over the course of 2,400 years, which is about the time that we're going to cover. This is important because I need to know that you are at least attempting to keep up with the readings and that you are able to figure out what sort of thought processes belong to whom as far as theorists go. So that's why the exams are set up the way that they are. So I put them up. It's available to you for a whole week. You can decide. I mean, they don't usually take but a half hour, but you can take as long as you want. If you want to open it up and take it for the whole day, that's fine. Here is my one caveat to that. I do give everybody just one chance to take the exam. So you can't like close it and go back to it later and expect to take it. It won't let you do that. But what it will do is it will stay open for, I don't even know how long, however long you need it to. And so if you are someone who wants to take 3 or 4 hours to do your exam or a couple of days, that is entirely up to you. Just leave your exam open and you can go back and look at it and do whatever it is that you need to do. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. My exams are short answer or multiple choice. And short answer is literally like you may be giving me a list or you may be defining something. I'm not talking a paragraph here. Remember, whatever you write, I have to read. So it's important for me to keep that down as far as I can. And let's see, the papers. Those are the most important part of this class. The goal of this class is to make it possible for you to understand, at least on the surface, how to apply the concepts of rhetoric over the past 2,400 years, how to apply those to a specific modern day artifact. And that is what we're aiming for. So your papers are really the biggest thrust of your grade, in case you haven't figured that out, but I'm sure you have. The other part of the grade is that I may give you discussion boards, quizzes, etc. Now, again, if it's a quiz, it's going to be open note, open book, open everything, and you'll have time to do it. They are not timed. They are not open forever for the whole semester, but you'll have a good amount of time, plenty of time to get that done. I can't imagine anybody not having time. The next thing I'm going to say is that you've probably heard that I don't really keep deadlines in my class. And except for the exams, you always know when those are, or quizzes or discussion board assignments. But for the papers, I leave that up to you. Now, I will tell you that generally speaking, the first paper, getting that in prior to spring break is helpful. If you're someone who needs a deadline, make prior to spring break be your deadline for the first paper. If you are someone who needs no deadlines, if you're just good with whenever, here's how the rules work. Your papers are due by the last day of the courses. So the last day of courses, which is the day before Dead Day, which is the Friday before finals week. On that Thursday, that's when your papers are due. So the last day of classes. And I really can't go much later than that because that gives me just enough time to grade and put your grade in. There are incompletes to be had. There are ways to put that off, but the fact of the matter is, if you do that, it gets really kind of gummed up in the works. And so I want to make sure that all of you are able to have your grades available to you when they are due. So let's aim to get everything in prior to that date. If you want to help me out and turn things in early, I'm good with that. I will grade them when I get them. If I know that they're there, at least I will grade them. So that's hopefully helpful to you. You probably would not be able to write your first paper until like maybe a couple weeks from now at least. So I will go ahead and put that assignment up there. You do have my grading rubric for the papers, so you know exactly how to get an A in my class. That is fine with me. If everybody gets an A, everybody gets an A. I am totally okay with that. It takes some work to completely fail this course, especially when I teach it online. So hopefully that helps. Next topic, lectures. I do not necessarily give lectures every single week. Sometimes though, it seems like I do. I feel like I do, but I don't want to guarantee that. But I will let you know when a lecture is available. Usually I use YouTube. You can follow my channel if you like. My YouTube video, I will share the link directly to the video in Blackboard in the announcement. So sometimes it's been that the email comes to you and you can just click on the email, the link in the email, and it goes right to YouTube. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it says, I've left you an announcement and you have to go into Blackboard and open the announcement, and then that will give you the link to the YouTube video. And then of course you can always just either follow the YouTube channel or check in on it whenever you like. But I will always let you know when there is a lecture available. In addition to that, you may find that there are times when I put up videos, video lectures that perhaps I gave last semester or the previous spring, and I just didn't have a chance to redo the lecture. Unfortunately for me, I'm very lucky because this topic doesn't change at all over the course of time of a semester. So the good news is that I can always find a way to get you another video or information that you need. If something should happen to me, I can just put up those videos and make sure that you guys are set to go. So everything's okay in that region. There may be some dates in those videos that you need to ignore, but you'll know it at the time. Very rarely do I put like due dates or I'm not even sure reading schedules or anything like that in a video lecture. I usually don't do that. So I keep them as generic as I can, hopefully so that, yes, I can reuse them from time to time. Let's see. So that covers everything that's on the syllabus, and hopefully that helps you out. You should know also that I always give out sample papers. I put the sample papers out there for you just to see what they look like. That does not mean that that paper got an A. I don't honestly know what those papers got, but they give you an idea of the basic form of the paper and what you need to do. So paper assignments are forthcoming. Exams will come out a week before they are due. And you have a reading schedule right there in front of you. And that reading schedule is according to your book. Okay, so your book works chronologically. So does the syllabus. We're going to start with Aristotle, Plato, actually prior to them, I guess Gorgias, Isocrates, Plato, Aristotle, what we call the ancient Greeks, and we'll move into the ancient Romans, or the classical Greeks and the classical Romans. From there, we will move to the medieval period, and that's when things kind of get nuts, because after the medieval period, we get into the Renaissances and the Enlightenment, and a bunch of people start writing a bunch of stuff, and there's just theorist after theorist after theorist. So while Plato, Aristotle, etc. are the hardest to read, by no measure are they easy. So they are the hardest to read, but as we move forward, we're going to have easier to read but a greater number of theorists to talk about. This course sort of includes philosophy, a little bit of democracy studies, I guess. Obviously, communication persuasion is the thrust of it. And all of that ties into the practice of rhetoric. Okay, so that's where we need to always begin, is what is rhetoric? So let's start there right now. What is rhetoric? The definition of rhetoric there's a million of them. And if I had, 3 million people, there would probably be 3 million definitions of rhetoric. But for the most part, they all include some basic ideas together. So let me start off by saying that for the purposes of this class, and I'm not saying this is entirely right, but for the purposes of this class, we will be using Aristotle's definition of rhetoric. And Aristotle's definition of rhetoric has 3 parts. It is the art or skill of knowing, in any instance, all the means of persuasion. Now, those 3 parts are important. It's an art or a skill that is to be practiced of being able to understand. So it's an art or a skill of knowing in any instance, meaning in any particular situation, any power relationship that you find yourself in, any setting, and so forth, all the means of persuasion, which means literally all the means of persuasion. So that's not just the words and the language that are being used, but also what strategies are being used to reach the audience, what language is chosen, what style of delivery has the speaker chosen or has the writer chosen, and so on. So the art or skill of knowing in any particular instance, all the means of persuasion. You don't have to say it exactly like that. I know a lot of people who just say the skill of understanding all the means of persuasion in any instance. I mean, whatever way that you want to put that, feel free. But those 3 qualities that Aristotle introduces us to are going to be our 3 qualities that make up concepts. I should say concepts instead of qualities. Our 3 concepts that are going to make up our definition of rhetoric that we fall back on. Now, I say our definition of rhetoric to fall back on because everything you're going to read from here on out will either be an explanation of what that definition means, or it will be a refutation of that definition, or in some way a mutation of it or a modification of it. And so we always have something to compare it to. And that's, generally speaking, helpful in education. So hopefully that will help you learn a little bit, but that means I need you to know that definition to start off. What I would like to do now is give you a small assignment. It's not very important in size, but it is important in topic. So what I would like to do is have each of you comment on the discussion board about what you think the word rhetoric means, or how you've heard it, or what about it doesn't make sense to you. For the most part, obviously, when I was a kid, the biggest thing that I associated rhetoric with was the art of speaking and saying nothing, was sort of the way that it was taught to me. And by the time I got to college and I was learning a whole different way of thinking about rhetoric, it really jolted my mind a little bit to think about rhetoric in any way other than, honestly, meaningless blather coming from usually politicians. So it was hard for me to break out of that. I need you to break out of that, because a lot of times that's what people think about rhetoric. So I want you to tell me, though, what is it that you think about rhetoric right now, starting out into this class, before we've tackled anything, before you've read anything, maybe, before we quote, know, close quote, exactly what it is that we're talking about in our own sort of interpretation of the concept of rhetoric. So that is what I would like to do, and I'm going to go ahead and post that here this evening, and you'll have plenty of time to give me any answer that you'd like. And as sort of a last note, just let me say this. We start with this definition of rhetoric. It's going to be challenged, and people are going to try to change it, and that's okay. I find that acceptable. I think there's a lot of definitions of rhetoric that make sense. But again, this is for the point of comparison. More than anything else, we'll start with Aristotle's definition. You will have a chance to score 1,000 points in this class. And the breakdown of my grading is in the syllabus. But I want you to understand that there's a difference between grading points and grading percentages. So not all of these assignments are equal. Obviously, the two papers are worth a lot more. In fact, one paper is worth more than all three of your tests combined, okay, which probably indicates how I feel about exams, but I'm not a fan, but they have their uses for certain things, as you might know. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to give you for tonight. I will put that assignment up on the discussion board, and I will look forward to talking with you again soon. I may put up a video that I've recorded in the past called An Introduction to Rhetoric, and maybe that will help you. Just remember that when you start reading, we're going to read in chronological order. So I believe that your first assignment is Gorgias and Iconium to Helen. I believe that is your first assignment. So whatever it says on the syllabus will be the title of what's in the book. And that's how it should work. Let me know if you have any problems with that, and we'll be in touch soon.